Okay, we're going to do a quick little how to stitch holly leaves and berries today. These holly stickers come in my Festive Trim stick and stitch pack on Etsy, which I will link in the video description. And it comes with 4 sets of 2 pairs each. But I'm just going to use one today just to show you how to stitch these, because holly is so cute to add to holiday projects. But as I was doing one, which I'll show you at the end, I was doing these on the collar of a shirt for my daughter. It's kind of a tricky shape and it can be a little intimidating. So I'm going to show you my favorite way to stitch in holly. Just going to stick that down. I'm using this big hoop right now just so I can put it in a stand so I can give you a nice clean tutorial. But obviously most likely you're going to want to put this onto a shirt or a hat, tote bags. I think these would look so cute on linen napkins or placemats or along the edge of a table runner. I mean, lots of different places that you could put this. So I'm just showing you this to make the tutorial a little bit easier to see and everything. The colors I'm going to be using today are 816, 30, 11, and 520. But obviously you can use any colors you want. And then I'm just going to be using a size 5 embroidery needle. I'm going to show you how to do this with back split stitch. You could certainly use a satin stitch and kind of angle it like this to fill in holly leaves. However, if you're doing this on clothing or any kind of material that's really not going to be staying in a hoop, the thing is that I think that a lot of your strands may get a little bit like twisted together. It's just kind of a long place to pull satin stitch, especially if you wanted to go up this way. If you were going to do satin stitch, you would definitely want to angle it more diagonally to fill in. So I'm going to show it to you with back split stitch because it's a much tighter stitch and you're not pulling as long of strands across, or your stitches aren't going across as long. I'm rambling a little bit, sorry. So I think that this stitch is great for adding these leaves to any kind of clothing or bag or project that you want to add them to. All right, so here we go. I grabbed 3 strands of 3011, and there are obviously different directions you could go, different ways you could do this. I'm just sharing the way that I found that I liked, that I thought was pretty easy. I'm going to start up at the very tip of this leaf over here, and I'm going to make a little straight stitch out. I'm going to envision that there's an imaginary line going all the way down the center of this holly leaf. So I'm going to make a little straight stitch. And then I'm going to do back split stitch. So I'm going to come up a stitch length away, and I'm going to go back down through about midway through the length of this stitch and split those stitches right down the middle. And I'm going to continue all the way down this center line of the holly leaf. So we're working in a back stitch motion, but we are actually splitting our previous stitch down the middle each time. And as you get to the end here, you can make a stitch that goes pretty much all the way. And then I'm just going to do one more right here, just come up right on the edge of that last stitch and just go ahead and split that last stitch as well so that it has the same texture as the rest of the stitches. So this kind of divided our leaf in half, and now I'm going to fill in on each side of the leaf. So I'll start over here on this side, and I'm going to work my back split stitch going back up right next to that first kind of column of stitches that we made. And you just want to be mindful of the edges of the leaf as to where you start and stop your stitch line each time. Just going to work all the way up to here. I'm almost out of thread, so I'm going to stop right when I get up to here, I think. So I'm just a little bit lower down, following the edge of this side of the leaf. And I'll go ahead and tie off a knot in the back. Just going to run this underneath a nearby stitch, leave a loop out, run my needle through that loop, and then pull. If you were doing this on clothing or a different kind of project, I would run it a couple of times just to make sure your knot is extra secure. And then go ahead and get 3 more strands of 3011 and we'll continue. So now I'm just going to work back down. And I'm going to continue like this until I get kind of close to where the little sides sort of jut out. So I'm going to get all the way right about to here where it comes inside, right there. And then I'll show you how you can fill in these little parts that just jut out. Okay, so you can see I'm sort of running into where that edge is. So this is going to be my last line that I go all the way down with my back split stitch on this side. Okay, so for these sides right here, if you can continue to fit back split stitch within them, then that's fine. Like this part is a little wide, so I might be able to get one more little back split stitch in there. Also, the lighting is just like not great right now. This is a really pretty green and it's very olivey. It's just coming off a little bit darker than it really is right now. But then you can just move into a little bit more of a satin stitch if you want to, as it gets really tiny towards the edges. So essentially you're just repeating some straight stitches right next to each other, following the edge of the leaf each time. When you move into satin stitch, you always want to come up on the same side every time. As I get to the corner here, my stitches are really going to be tiny. This might be my last one. I'm just going to come up through the fabric and I'm going to go down right next to where I came up to make that little point. Then I'll repeat that down here. And pull a few little satin stitches here. I'm gonna do one more teeny tiny one. All right, so now we just need to do that same thing on the other half. So I'll start with my back split stitch again until I fill in the majority of this side of the leaf, basically until we get to right about here. And then you can just use your little satin stitch to fill in these little sections that jut out to the sides. Okay, so you could totally leave this as is, but I like to come in with a little bit of a darker shade of green. I'm using 520. Again, it's really hard to see with this lighting. I don't know, it's driving me crazy, but anyways, we're gonna just go with it. So I like to do one thing. I like to come up about 1/3 of the way up that center line of the leaf and make a little defining line, just a straight stitch that goes right down towards the bottom tip of the leaf. And then I like to do a back stitch. If you want to define, if your edges are looking kind of wonky, you can do a back stitch around them to just sort of define them a little bit more. And it also gives a little variation in color there. It just looks kind of nice. So for back stitch, after your first little straight stitch out that you make, every time you're just coming up through the fabric a stitch length away. And then you're going back down through the same hole from the end of the previous stitch. If you are going to do this, you want to keep your stitch lengths nice and short because we've got lots of little curves and changes of direction on these leaves. I'm just gonna go over here and I'm gonna work my way all the way around the shape till I get it all outlined with backstitch, and then I'll show you how you can do the little berries. Okay, so obviously everything we did over here, you would do the same exact thing on this leaf over here. And then I'm gonna use 3 strands of 8/16 to fill in the little berries. And I'm just gonna use a little satin stitch. So when I'm doing a round shape like this, I like to do one little stitch right across the middle of the circle too. Start. And then just kind of fill in on either side of that. So I'm gonna come back over to this side, pull another little stitch over here, and then I'll pull a little tiny one over here on this edge to help round it out. I'm gonna come back over here and do that on this side. You could also do French knots here, depending on how big you want your berries to be. If you want them a little bit smaller, like a 3-wrap French knot might be nice. And don't be afraid to go over your satin stitch a couple of times to sort of build it up so it has a little bit more of that 3D look. I'm gonna do like one more right here. Okay, so then I would go ahead and repeat that for the other 2 berries. So just wanted to show you a project that I did the holly leaves on. I did it on both little parts of this collar on a shirt for my daughter, and I think it looks so cute. Obviously, if you use the stick and stitch paper, you would just rinse it away with warm water and let it dry, and then you'll be good to go. And you can see the stitches hold up really well here. There's no like bunching of the threads, and this should hold up really nicely for a long time. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments section.